Hey, hello, welcome back to RushtheWashers. My name is Miguel, and on today's video I want to discuss how you can motivate yourself for this 2021 to paint a whole army in the 1998 style. Welcome everyone to 2021. It is the moment when most people make promises to themselves about what are the goals for the next year. If you're a hobbyist like myself, you probably have in your plans painting a whole army this year. And yeah, although this seems to be a very noble cause, a month has passed already and some of you might be already losing that kick in the back that made you start doing so. So I want to show you how this can be achieved, and it has been done for several years now by a lot of people like myself. I have painted several armies doing a system that has worked quite well. How, you might ask? Well, the idea behind this is making it like a social event. Find a group of likely-minded people like yourself that want to achieve the same thing, painting a whole army in a year, and then just force each other to do the same thing. If we go back to 1998, we will see that this is a novel concept, or at least it was back then for some of us, about how to paint your armies. In this case, we have a series of articles that went from White Dwarf 2018 to 2023, and they showed us that this was absolutely feasible. According to these articles, we had 4 members of Games Workshop staff that back then decided to tackle this with a budget. They decided to set aside a little bit of money, and every month they would be buying some miniatures and painting them, so the next month they would be ready for another batch. And they did this for 5 months straight. The amount of money that they used was £150, which, when we check inflation prices between 1998 and 2021, it will be equivalent to nowadays money of £230. So yeah, according to the prices back then, yeah, you can buy a decent army with a few pounds every week. And I think it's feasible. It is still feasible to buy yourself an army with this amount of money, as long as you have access to the army books and some paints, and that is not in the beginning of your investment. It is quite feasible to buy yourself an army and paint it in a whole year. Now, these people did something that is quite remarkable. They painted everything within 5 months. So they started by buying £50 of miniatures on the first month, and then £25 for another 4 months, and they finished up an army within 5 months, painted and everything. Obviously, it is not as easy as it sounds. You need to be consistent, and consistency is the key on painting your armies within a dedicated time frame. Doing it for 15 minutes a day might seem that is not a big achievement, but at the end of the week, we are talking about almost 2 hours of painting time, which is more than some people actually do. If you increase the amount of time that you dedicate every day, obviously this is going to pay back in a great amount of miniatures by the end of any dedicated period of time to your painting. So what is the trick? Well, as I said, here the trick is not about how you approach this topic. You can do it in 2 ways. One is using a budget with money, or the other one is using a budget of points. I've done the second one more often than not, and what we did is for every month we will dedicate ourselves to paint 200 points of any given army that we wanted to do. I've done it with High Elves, I've done it with Skaven, I've done it with Empire, I've done it with Wood Elves, I've done it with many different armies. Every month I will set aside 200 points of my troops and paint them. This usually will mean that I will have a regiment or something like that finished by the end of the month, and the army will grow little by little for 10 to 12 months, which will give me a quite significant amount of miniatures painted. A full army will be ready to be played with by the end of a year. If you do the budget approach of money, then this is quite good for people who have never painted an army before. I mean, if you think about it, you might be an absolutely noob to the hobby and you just want to buy things and paint them as you go. If you combine both approaches, having an army list and having a budget, then you can achieve very good results within a very limited time amount. If you combine both approaches, having a budget of money and having a set amount of points that you want to paint every month, then you can get yourself an army in no time at all. And you will be able to play games with them in a few weeks. And this is how they did it in these articles. These articles, I think they made history on White Dwarf. These are easily some of the articles that are most remembered from those days in 1998. It is no secret that for me, Middlehammer is probably the most appealing period of Warhammer. That and 6th edition. And 7th? I'm not sure. But in between those years. It is quite remarkable that a few issues of White Dwarf had such a significance that we still remember them with fondness. And I think that it is in the simplicity of the approach of painting, the way that they tackled this endeavor of choosing the miniatures they wanted to paint every month and how to assemble them within a force that could be used in a game. It's quite inspirational. You can read about the color schemes, the miniatures that they bought, the reasoning behind that, and the games that they played. And that's quite remarkable. At the end of the series, they all go together and play a game where they make alliances between themselves and they just bash it all out. So this is another key point. Get a deadline. Find something at the end of the line that is going to make painting the army worthwhile. It can be a big game, a big event, some kind of convention, some kind of contest. All those things are very worthwhile and they will give you an objective at the end of the line. So to sum it up, this is very simple. If you don't know how to tackle something like painting a whole army within a dedicated time frame, this is how you do it. Number one, obviously choose an army that you want to paint. For those of us who have big piles of shame, this is usually quite easy. We can find a project within our shelves that we want to finish this year. Number two, find like-minded people. People who want to paint armies are not in this hobby of ours. There is no better way to get your ass to paint miniatures than convincing other people that they have to do the same thing as you do. Just like when you do other things that you really don't like, I don't know, going to work or going to the gym. It is better with people around you that complain about the same thing that you have to do. So find people that would like to do the same as you want and get in contact. Decide how you're gonna tackle it. Are you gonna do it with a budget or are you gonna do it with points? Either way, each month, each couple of weeks, whatever period of time, you need to prove to each other that you have been doing this. And by doing this social contract, you force yourself because you then are responsible of your own results by showing them to other people. Number three, have a deadline in mind. It is all good and well when you're painting and painting and painting for years and you just keep doing and adding things to your army. But a deadline is actually very useful. It gives you an objective, something to aim for by painting your miniatures. So this is how I did it. I've done it several times and it has worked wonders for me. Sometimes motivation is lacking because of life constraints, other hobbies and whatnot. It is quite important to set yourself for success rather than failure by being consistent. By seeing results little by little, it makes it much easier to achieve. So if you made it up to here in the video, I really appreciate that. Thank you very much for that. It really helps the channel, believe it or not, when you are up to the end. Tell us about your strategies, the things that work for you, the things that didn't work, and how far are you in your pledge if you are in the Crown of Command challenge or on any of those challenges that we have on the groups on Facebook. My name is Miguel, thank you for watching, and I catch you in the next video. Bye!